Welcome to the Belief Breakthrough Show. My name is Tina Encarnacion, and I am your host of the show. I am a holistic healer, a published author, an executive producer of the TV show premiering next month called Unseen. And today we are discussing cycles. It has been one hell of a 3-day weekend for me. We just got done shooting episode 5 of Unseen, and we were reliving the trauma of me losing my daughter. And cycles came up huge for me this weekend. I was able to see the repetitive cycle of not just myself, but other people around me. When I talk about cycles, you may be wondering, what is that? So this month, we've really been focusing on New Year, New You, really identifying what in your life is holding you back from accomplishing everything you want and desire in your life. The number one thing that holds most people back are limiting beliefs. And that is why on the Belief Breakthrough Show, we focus so heavily on breaking through beliefs that are limiting us and stopping us from achieving everything we want in our lives. And so last week, we were really talking about energy and energy blocks and trauma that has been suppressed and is stopping us from moving forward in life. And a lot of times we get stuck in cycles, and that's why we can't move forward. And surprisingly, many of those cycles are taught to us in our childhood. Many of those cycles are trained up and programmed inside of us, and we don't even realize it. We pick up the cycles from our parents who have picked up cycles from their parents. And when our parents come together, they share their cycles with their children. So many times we take on the cycles, even the toxic cycles of both of our parents, and we pass it down our lineage to our children who learn it and then pass it down to their children. And some people have amazing cycles in their life. For instance, they might have the cycle of financial education. They might have the cycle of unconditional love. They may have the cycle of acceptance. Everyone. I know that's one thing that my mother-in-law had was she accepted everyone and anyone into her life. She never judged. She never passed harsh words to them. Anyone that came into her surroundings, she welcomed with open arms, and she loved them and she accepted them until they stepped on her, until they hurt her, until they damaged something around her, and then they no longer had the ability to come within her circle. She had amazing boundaries, and that's something I really loved about her. And she was able to help me identify some of the cycles that I had in my life and helped me to break them. For instance, for me, I lived in a cycle from childhood of if you hurt me, I was going to hurt you worse. And anytime I was offended, it became my purpose in life to hurt you worse than you hurt me. And that was a cycle that I perpetuated. And that was a cycle that I saw within myself that she helped me to identify. And I knew that I didn't want to pass that cycle on to my children. And so I had to become very aware of that and realize that when somebody hurt me, my natural instinct was to rear up my rage and my anger and let loose on them. And I had to learn how to stop myself in my tracks and break that cycle so that I didn't pass it on to my children anymore. If you have identified cycles in your life, please comment. Let us talk about it. Let's discuss your cycles. Um, so another thing me and my husband were discussing last week was the cycles. I work in a toxic environment at work, and I've recently transferred um, in work, and I've watched the environment of my employer for the last 10 years that I've been there, and I see a repetitive cycle. I see a cycle of toxicity and abuse and neglect and disrespect. And I see it happening. I see where a new person comes into the environment, and then the hierarchy sets in and the people just kind of start attacking and eating that person up and really kind of showing their dominance until that spirit of that new person is broken. And then once that spirit of that new person is broken, then they can rebuild them into the person that they want them to be and take advantage of them. And then when a new person comes in, they get eaten alive by that newly programmed individual that has been broken down from the hierarchy. And it perpetuates and it passed down to down the line, right? And I see it happening in many different departments within my employer. And I was talking to my husband about it because I was one of those people that were broken down. In 2015, I ended up getting broken down by my employer. I was a very strong-headed, strong-willed individual, and I was reassigned a new boss who just really made me feel like shit, tore me apart, spoke down to me, belittled me, and really made me start to question my worth. And I've since rebuilt myself and reclaimed my voice and stepped back into my worth. And so I was talking to my husband about that. And I was like, I see this happening all the time. And I feel really bad because these new people are coming in, they don't see the cycle and they don't know the cycle. And they come in wanting to be positive and wanting to improve the employment and wanting to give of themselves. And then they just get torn apart and broken down. And then they repeat it to the next person that comes up behind them. And he's like, well, it's a cycle. It's a cycle that needs to be broken. Just like if you are in an abusive relationship or you grew up in an abusive relationship, you typically will attract someone who abuses you, whether it's emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, financially. If you are grown up in the cycle of abuse, you tend to attract that cycle of abuse once you go onto your own, unless you identify that it's abusive and it's toxic and you break that cycle and you move forward, setting boundaries, not allowing that cycle to persist. And so, one thing that I've learned is to identify cycles and break them. Now, not all cycles are abusive or detrimental to your health. Um, there are some cycles that are just habits, negative habits, right? Like, I prefer to not work out. My husband works out every single day. He loves it. That's his cycle. He thrives on working out. He feels healthy when he works out. I mean, he is healthy when he works out. But that's his thing. He can't sit down and watch TV for 10 hours and eat bonbons all day long like me. I love doing that. He hates it. But his cycle is he has to work out and he has to nurture his body and he has to give his body nutrition and feed it. And if he doesn't, if he neglects himself, he just becomes this really irritable, crabby person. So he has to continue with that healthy cycle. Now with me, in order to get into that healthy cycle, he has to pull me in and he kind of has to force me along the way until I create that healthy habit and it becomes a new healthy cycle for me. Um, so identifying those cycles and identifying those toxic or negative habits and rechanging them, reprogramming them within your brain. So the first thing that you need to do in order to change that habit or reprogram your mind is identify it. And so if there's something in your life where you're just not happy, you're just not feeling fulfilled, you're not feeling passionate about life, you're not feeling motivated about life, figure out what that is stopping you from feeling fulfilled, right? And and how has it repeated itself in your life? Is it physically abusive relationships? Is it toxic friendships? Is it abusing yourself through food or lack of exercise? Is it alcoholism? Is it drug abuse? What is that cycle? And identify it. And then once you identify that cycle, figure out where it came from. Was that a cycle that was programmed into you through your childhood? Was it something that you adopted from a toxic relationship or a healthy relationship? Was it something that you created yourself and then decided that that was what you deserved and you continue to repeat that negative habit or negative cycle? And then identify the pros and the cons of that cycle. How is it helping and improving your life? And how is it detrimental to your life? How is it pulling you down? How is it keeping you stuck in your tracks rather than moving forward? And then what would your life look like if you were to break this cycle? How would it improve your life? What would the goal of breaking this cycle achieve in your life? What benefits would it bring if you were to break this cycle? And then how could you break it? Write out your steps of how can you break it. If it's getting out of an abusive relationship, create your exit plan. If it's becoming healthy and stopping to abuse yourself through food and lack of exercise and lack of nutrition, plan out your meal plans. Make sure you're drinking 60 ounces of water a day. Make sure that you can exercise at home. So if you're having a really hard day, you don't have to drive to the gym. Or if COVID hits, you don't have to drive to the gym. You can just go into your living room or your garage. Like, figure out action plans to break your cycles And then give yourself rewards. Celebrate your successes, even the small ones. So for me, this week I've been working really hard on walking a minimum of 3.5 miles a day, getting my 10,000 steps in, right? And so I just completed day 7 of 3.5 miles every day. So I celebrated myself with that. Gave myself a cocktail. It was great. It was wonderful and delicious. And that was my small celebration, right? So make sure to celebrate your small victories and don't beat yourself up if you fall back for a day or two, because there is always going to be a time where you get worn down, you get tired, and you fall back into the cycle. And you can't beat yourself up over falling back into the cycle. It's just a matter of identifying that you're back in it so that you can step back out of it and you can start down your action plan again and start going through your checklist and starting to celebrate those small victories again as you achieve them over and over again. And eventually those small victories will become huge victories, right? You just have to do the milestones and never stop celebrating yourself. Everyone around us is willing to tear us down and beat us up and disrespect us and tell us how poor we are doing at honoring ourselves when they see us falling down. Very seldom do people lift us up. Very seldom do people celebrate with us. So it's very important that we celebrate ourselves and we celebrate our victories. And you have to do that when you're working on improving yourself and becoming a better you, a newer you, a new that you can look in the mirror and be proud of, and a you that you can fall in love with, right? And so identifying those cycles, figuring out what is healthy and what is not, and being willing to change. And change is not always easy. It is definitely a challenge, but it is always 100% worth it. Nothing worth it is ever easy, right? You've heard that before. And so figuring out what is worth it. What do you want your life to be? Where do you want to go? If you started the change that you want in your life today, what's your life going to look like in a year? If you wait until tomorrow or next week or next month, you're going to be in the same spot next year as you are today. So it's a matter of determining what is worth it and believing that you deserve this change and honoring yourself to make this change for yourself, because no one is going to make this change for you. It's all about living for yourself, honoring yourself, being aligned with yourself. So this month is the first month of the new year of 2021. 2020 kicked us in the ass, right? And so it is our responsibility to step up and say, we are going to create the life that we want. We are going to create the life that we desire, and we're not going to allow anything or anyone to stop us this year. We've had an entire 12 months to throw ourselves a pity party, to lick our wounds, to tell us ourselves that we're undeserving, to tell ourselves that there's so many obstacles in our way. If you make an excuse, it's never going to happen. If you truly want something, you will find a way to make it happen. If you don't want something, you will always find an excuse. So the question is, what do you want? Do you want to take the first step today to achieve the life that you desire for the rest of your life? Or do you want to kick your feet up and say, I'll do it tomorrow and be exactly where you're at today at this time next year? Choice is totally up to you. Comment below what cycles you are wanting to break out of this year and how you are planning to break free of the chains that are binding you in your current situation. And what benefits are you going to see in your life once you break these cycles, once you break these chains, and once you finally stop handing them down to your children and everyone around you? I can't wait to hear how you guys are planning to change your life and how I can help you along in your journey. If you have not yet grabbed my free Finding Direction course, this is an amazing course to help you to find out how to move forward in life, to begin to forgive everything that has happened to you that has caused you the pain that you may be suffering from today, and how to create action plans and goals to move forward in your life and achieve everything that you have dreamed of. No longer making excuses for yourself, but finally taking action to change your life and become the you that you've always wanted to be and deserve to be. Beginning to honor yourself and love yourself. If you would like that free course, you can visit my website at healingbytina.com and grab your free copy today. I look forward to working with all of you guys. If you need extra support, please join my free Facebook group, Women Empowered to Heal, and I will talk to all of you guys soon. Next Wednesday, or I'm sorry, this Wednesday in 2 days, I will not be going live on the Belief Breakthrough Show because I am going to be a guest speaker on Jamila's page, which will be shared on my Facebook page, my YouTube page, and um, the Women Empowered to Heal group. We are going to be talking about overcoming domestic violence and adverse childhood experiences and how they impact you when you become an adult. So we will both talk to you guys on Wednesday. I will share the link to jump onto that page and be a guest and talk to us and comment in. And we will talk to all of you guys soon.